One fake doll. It's not a Barbie. Cut back over here, I guess. Oh, industrial turn-on things. Japanese.
Yes, sir.
Junk. So dated it wouldn't even be funny. They don't even have those connections anywhere near a server anymore. Did they cut it off? It used to go all the way back. Used to have a little toy section even in the back. Yeah, they did, didn't they? How do you get back to the other side then? Maybe it's not open today. Used to be some phones in this one. They were farther back. You didn't find anything in here, did you? Okay, so we can just hightail without having to wait for somebody to pay. So I don't even see anybody working here. We'll just take a quick walk through this one. Tony Hawk. Viewmaster virtual reality, huh? I didn't know they did that. Oh, no. Bag particles. Oh, they closed that up too. Used to be a room over there. Or is it open from the other side? I guess that's about it. Would you agree?
Nice shit's right over there in them homes there. That's a great shit.
Hey, how are we doing? It is live today. The footage is from a haul that we did. Again, I did like 60 stops in like a week or two. We're going to show some more of that in some more haul videos, bolo videos coming up as well too. That one is a flea market that has auctions occasionally, and they get wholesale items in there. So it's in Toledo. I think it's on maybe Alexis, if anybody's in the Toledo area. I'm pretty sure. Maybe Lewis and Alexis. Maybe that's what the road is. It's way on the other side of town. I don't get there very much, so if anybody's interested, it's a pretty big place. Usually the weekends are the best to go. I think it's called Storm and Norman's, maybe. I usually find something in there, at least to pay for my gas and time. I usually enjoy going along. My son usually goes, at least one of them. Sometimes both of them goes, and the wife goes as well too. So we've hit a ton of sourcing places, as I said. This is probably the best time to buy, of course. When you go later on in the season, the prices go up because less is available. As soon as the garage sales start to die off in your area, prices are going to start to go up, and it's going to get harder to find stuff. So that's why I've said in the past, you always bomb everything and get everything you can during the summer. I don't care if it's what somebody would call dead stock. It's back stock. It's not dead stock if it's good items. Wheedle through when you get home. Get rid of the items that aren't worth sticking on to. Maybe you didn't look them up good enough, or you found some damage. Just get rid of them. Don't mess with them, and then get the other stuff lined up. That's just a run at it here. Now, I got a whole bunch of notes, and I mean a page of notes. There's a lot of stuff going on, not just on the eBay field, but for those who know, Etsy's done the free shipping, and you've got Walmart coming online. You've got Amazon with some issues coming up, including many court cases, which we'll go into again. I was shocked at how much was going on with Amazon. I let the ball drop on myself just because I usually keep up on stuff like that. But with summer and sales going through the roof and everything, I kind of backtracked on doing stuff that I normally would do. So I caught back up after the last case on the Amazon. So again, we're going to touch on that. I'm going to touch on eBay Open stuff. Again, I do not go to eBay Open. I did not go. It looked like a good time. It looked like people had fun. But for knowledge and stuff, pretty much everything that we'll discuss here, I've already talked about, like eBay, managed by eBay. That's already going on in another country. I did a video on that too. So, I mean, none of this is new to me. So for me, the only difference was the white background app that's coming down the line for your phone. But again, if you're doing Amazon like us, your chances are doing white backgrounds anyway, so that doesn't mean much at all. And from what it looks like, well, we'll get into that in a minute here. Let's see who's all here. I don't want to shell it all out until we got some more people in here. There's literally a lot of stuff going on, including those who've already hit the dislike button. YouTube is going to be looking into doing a feature where you have to watch so much of the video before you can leave a thumbs down, because before the video even starts, you got those trolls coming on that hit the thumbs down. So I'm just letting you know that won't be an issue the way it sounds in the very near future. There was just an article on that as well too, if you keep up on YouTube news also. So they are looking into fixing the troll issue, just like when the trolls will come and bomb and stuff like that too. But anyway, that's just a touch on that. Let's see who's in here. I don't see anybody saying they can't hear me, so I would gather everybody can hear me. The wife will be on in a little while too. We've just had a very chaotic week. We're in the process of getting another car and a bunch of other stuff too, so things are going around here. Nothing fancy for us. I think anybody who knows me knows I'm not a fancy person. Good evening, Meredethi. Did I miss somebody? Hang on just a second. Yep, I missed a whole little section there. My feed just is all over the place, so I do apologize. Let me put down the green pen there. How are you doing, Linda? Hope you are well this evening. Yeah, back to school sales, that is for sure. Next week we got to do a bunch of that. So Duncan is off to the beach. It's a 3-hour drive. We'll watch. Well, hopefully Duncan has a good trip. He is in Australia. It's like 9 in the morning or something like that. I think Kathy will probably tell me what time it is there, but I think it's like 9 or something like that. He's in way different time zone than us. In fact, one of the markets for, why don't we just touch on this since we're talking Australia for a minute here. One of the markets for the managed by eBay is Australia. What they did, and this is probably the same way it's going to roll out here. I'll touch on this again later on in the video, but they sent out a notice on the main page of eBay. And if you don't know, eBay has like 13 different eBays. So there's an eBay Australia, there's a UK and Germany, and I think Germany is one of the largest ones on the planet next to us. So if you didn't know that, they're totally unrelated if you're new to eBay. So there's different markets that eBay does. Australia is a closed system, basically. Most people don't ship stuff, like order stuff from Australia. I have in the past occasionally, honestly, but for the most part, Australians just order from Australia. So it kind of is a way to judge the system. So they tested that. They posted a notice. You could schedule an interview with somebody on the phone. It was 5 or 10 minute interview at the most. And they were only scheduling so many people for these interviews. So you could have called and they could just say you don't qualify and then you'd be done with it. And then even if you get to the phone interview, there was no guarantee on what's going on. My guess is on the Managed by eBay, they're going to do the exact same thing they did in Australia. And I think they started in England, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go back and double check on that. But I know it's been a live system for those who did not know on that. Anyway, let's hop back over here. So that's already part of the changes that they're talking about. Anyway, let's see back who's on here. Let me pop down. We got Rock and Roll Resale. Good evening. Karen, how are you doing? Hustle and Grind Calgary, welcome. David, how are you doing? Treasure Experts, welcome again. And then I said Meredethi, how are you? Michelle, good evening, Michelle. Let's see here. Mary, how are you doing? Yeah, the wife will be on in just a little while. Hey, Craig, how are you doing? Landshark Picker there. Check him out if you get a chance. He's a moderator. We've done a few things together. Maybe in the near future we will do some more as well. So my schedule is honestly extremely hectic. Tentatively may have another live show with somebody else here on this channel next week, but it depends on some stuff, so I won't know till Saturday. So you might see a show on Tuesday and the normal Thursday with Marky will be on, of course, for that too. So let's see where we're at. Let me pop down. Penny, welcome, Penny. Hey, Audrey, how are you doing as well? I know I see several from Patreon, so since we don't have a ton in the chat or in the live show quite yet, Patreon video, the second part of the newest Bolo video is up right now. And it goes into real depth on it. So I think altogether it's around an hour worth of that same set Bolo. But it is live. I answered every question. There was a bunch of photos. So if you're in Patreon, just go back and check on the items too. I would just recommend it because I try to leave comments on every single one. So if you want to learn something too, that's another opportunity. So anyway, hang on just a second. Hey, Ship and Sunshine, welcome. Good evening. This is one big place to source. Yes. And Karen again. Let's see. Let me slide down just a second here. Again, I got a ton of notes here. We'll go into depth in some of this as well. Let's see here. Tara Lee, how are you doing? Good evening. Viking's Mother, welcome. There's Lexus here as well. Well, welcome to Nancy. How are you doing? A jug of moonshine in the background. I love the background, honestly. It reminds me of a we stayed in Arkansas, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was a huge retreat building, and the whole building was just made out of wood. It was 3 stories. It had a huge atrium in there. It was for a business retreat for one of the companies I worked for. It was all expense paid. I think we were there for 4 days, but it was just an incredible view out this 3-story cottage. I don't even know what you want to call it. It was huge. It's a nationally known place, apparently. It cost the company a fortune, from what I understand, but it was like a team building thing, and we all had our own rooms, and the walls in it were just like this, but they were packed in the seams and all, like you would expect in a real full-fledged log cabin of the day. So it's really neat, honestly. And if you've ever been to Disney, Wilderness Lodge is just awesome. If you've been to Disney, I think there's several in here that are in that area. But Wilderness Lodge was a really neat one. We stayed there, and we always used to go to the buffet there, because if you ever wanted to have like bison, that was on the menu there, like pretty much all year round, if I remember right. I don't know the deal. I think it was, farm raised, of course, because they do that nowadays. I do like the logs, though. I grew up with a wood-burning stove, and as a child, we'd chop trees on the weekend. Me, my brother, and my dad would, we'd kind of be required, but we'd go out and, My dad would block and tackle up a tree, just off of a ladder, and then he'd rope himself up and tie off branches and logs, and we'd help lower them to the ground, and we took down trees and, city blocks. My father, did it for a long time, just on the side, because we heated our house with a wood-burning stove for most of my young childhood. My mom got a central air conditioning heating unit, like when I was, after I moved out of the house, mind you, probably when I was like 25. She had an old annotated furnace before that, so just one of those oddball things. So, I do like the smell of, like pine and wood and things like that, but the wife's family had a lumber mill too, so we've got it on both sides. Classes in, yes. Hey, Merrick X7, how are you doing? Let's see here. Oops, it just bounced on me. Well, let's pop in. We've got close to 100 in right now. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. Let me see here. So, part of the eBay Open, again, I'm not criticizing eBay Open as a bad thing for those who went. I think we went years ago, but it wasn't called eBay Open, and it was only $15 at the door, if I remember right. This is a very long time, like 20 years ago we went to one, and it just was a coincidence. It wasn't something planned. It was in maybe Atlanta or something, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody out there probably remembers what they were called back in the day, but they've called them, I think this is like the third name they've changed it to, and it was eBay wasn't eBay, it was still small when we were there, and it was just like everybody was just hanging out, you just walk around, and like people who were running the company were just there like you. If I remember right, some of those people even had t-shirts on and things like that. I don't know what if they fully dressed out for it or not. I didn't pay much attention this year or the last couple of years, but nothing wrong with going. I would have loved to have gone, but business is first in my book, and with the notices that they announced, I'm so glad I didn't spend the money, and because we scored out the entire time. And, it was a big score for us, this past couple weeks. And I'd hate to lay off the pedal to go and have fun, because we planned vacations out long in advance. We were gone in December. We were gone a week ago or a couple weeks ago. And, we've got another one we'll take this year. So, anyway. But the things like they're bringing up, like VAs, the ability to have multiple employee access, that's another thing that's been tested in other countries too, if you didn't know it. If you want to know what's going to happen here, just pay attention to what they're doing in other countries, because they test almost everything before they bring them over here. So when they come over here and they still have issues, they've already tested them to some extent to see if they're going to run. Just like them changing over the media mail issues and stuff. And I know some people say it's not a bigger deal, but they're dictating the entire website. And I know it's their website, not a bigger deal on that aspect, but they didn't tell anybody. That's my only draw. For those who were on in June of last year and everybody lost the photos, I spent a lot of time, not as much as I could have, and a lot of other people spent a lot more time, than I did, to go back and pull back those photos. And all they got from eBay from all of that extra work, and I spent, 10, 20 hours minimum, going back, and that's a lot, hundreds of dollars worth of time to fix the lost photos. And I just gave up and said, if somebody wants to see them, they'll email me and ask for more photos, because it just wasn't practical. I know you could go through and find which ones and all. It just wasn't worth my time to go through and look for them. And I still find ones missing photos, believe it or not, from June of last year. But the point is that they just gave out some free listings for credit for us, and that was all they gave out, eBay. And you had like 3 days to use it, and if you had a smaller store, there's no way you can list that many things by yourself, or whatever the case may be. I think I got 500 listings, and for me, it was automatically, you could relist them and all the stuff before instead of good till canceled. So, they were gone in like 2 minutes, on stuff that was just sitting there that they hadn't relisted. So it's the point that they weren't concerned about the time. And again, like with this, the answer from eBay to me was, well, just switch them around, check your listings and see. So again, it's time more than anything else. I could care less if they move stuff around to some extent. Yeah, some things are going to sell, so it's going to hurt my sales. But at this point, by the time, all this comes into play, I'm on other platforms anyway. We've phased eBay to a lesser point of what it used to be in our repertoire of selling platforms. We're on 9, and I spend some time on, figuring out what's best and stuff like that too. I get a bunch of questions, and I don't want to hop around here, but one thing leads to another, so I want to touch on them. One of the persons who asked the question is in the feed right now, so I'm going to hop back to the feed in a minute though. But like McCrary, Bonanza, Ruby Lane, Poshmark, people ask me on what I think about all those sites. Nothing wrong with Poshmark at all. I just don't want clothing, and until recently there wasn't an option. I don't know if I'll still mess with it until they put up like collectibles or something. I don't know. For me, clothing, it wasn't worth my time. I did quit Poshmark, but then again, 5-6 months later, I quit selling clothing, and we pulled it all offline and dumped like 99.9% of it. So I can't say Poshmark's bad at all. It just wasn't for me. Again, that's not a criticism of Poshmark. I know people who do some good money and they love it. No, real criticisms. Poshmark will have a day of reckoning when they'll have to step up and change policies and stuff. It's a given if they get so big. There's just no way around it. Every site has done that. Every single site that's still viable. And again, not a dog in anybody. That's just the facts. You can look it up. You can see how sites progressed. I've been on eBay since, eBay was eBay, and I can tell you for sure that's what happened. I've been on Amazon for a long while. I can tell you they've stepped up and done this and done that. And if you saw the video I talked about the other day on the issues with Amazon's going to be under some major pressure here once this one hits the court system fully fledged. It's still in the investigative stage. Arrests have been made. They're going to be questioning. That's going to lead to more investigations. There's already 2 of these rings of people that they've found. Those are just the ones that they found semi by accident. I'd hate to see what else is going on. Again, I love Amazon, so I don't want anybody thinking I'm sitting here dogging on Amazon, because we sell on Amazon, and my goal is to have everything on Amazon. So, I'm not pushing for any ill harm to Amazon, or really eBay in that matter. But the point is, there's monopoly charges on Amazon right now. Facebook just paid out $5 billion with a B, $5 billion to a charge that they've done bad things. This is just the start of that. Europe's already taken on stuff like that. They've got charges of allowing counterfeit goods to go on there, China dumping on those counterfeits, and intellectual property theft. I tried to look up and give an estimate on how many lawsuits are going against Amazon right now. I gave up. There's just no way to count them, because you could go skip 20 pages ahead on searches and still be into active ones. There's just too much, and those are just the ones that I could see. So, then they've got allowing, the stolen goods is the biggest aspect of it, because these businesses that have been doing this were in cahoots with some Amazon drivers and other people who were stealing in many different ways, and they'd sell them to a pawn shop. The pawn shop would then FBA them, so if they were ever raided, it would take a little bit of time, or, maybe they're even running the Amazon aspect later, outside of the premise in, secret. So who knows what they're doing to cover their tracks on that. So, the stolen goods wouldn't even be in the state anymore. So, and since they did ship the stolen goods out of their state to an Amazon warehouse that's in a different state, it calls into question, it's now federal charges. So this has gotten to be a big case if you haven't paid attention to it. And I say this because for those who know, when Amazon a few years back and they changed the prices and they went back and did some major gating issues, they started slamming the door. And I've been hearing people left and right tell me they've been gated on here or just booted on Amazon. And you'll see current videos from the last couple months of people stating that here on YouTube. So, there's something going on. We don't know what, because Amazon is so secretive on everything. I don't blame them in some aspect, because eBay's following their exact model. They're not even trying to hide that they want to be Amazon, which is bad. eBay should be eBay and not worry about Amazon. They should change everything around, but they shouldn't directly mimic Amazon, in my book. They're different companies. But let's pop back to here for just another second on that. Hopefully that makes some sense on the worrisome here. I mean, because the lawsuits are the big issue that Amazon's facing from big corporations who are complaining about stolen goods, the intellectual property theft and all that Amazon's currently allowing to happen on the site. Amazon admitted, the video you can see, literally notes and pages and conversation from Amazon people, execs and things like that, talking about this problem. They know it's there. They've admitted it to Congress. from what I've seen in the reports as well too. And these are with Amazon's approval that this is announced. They're not in the mainstream. They're in financial newspapers and magazines and business newspapers and magazines. The crime ring now is the first one to hit major news other than the tiny little ones. This is a big chain that could be more than $10 million. They could have multiple accounts, and the FBI isn't announcing this because it's still a live investigation. So there's a lot to take in with all of that, and then you've got eBay trying to mimic them. And with eBay trying to mimic and have their own warehouse to have you pay them to store their goods, store your goods, they're going to run into the exact same issues as Amazon has. So, I'd be closely watching these cases right now, and I'm not trying to put any fear or anything like that into it. It's just the facts and everything. If you're not looking ahead to what's going on, a business, a real full-fledged business is looking ahead. They're not going day by day. This is something that could come up that could really affect us, and I don't want to be caught off guard. I don't know about anybody else, but if you're doing this full time, like I just saw somebody just hit a thumbs down. Now, this is just facts. I mean, I don't get when people don't want to hear the facts. This is just something to think about, This is something that could affect every one of you who wants to do something like this. So, that's just my take on it. Take it as you will, but let's pop over to the feed for a second here. See who else is in here. Anytime, Craig. Anytime, Craig. Money for Mars. Not late. We are on for a little while. Did I miss Carl? Hey, Carl, how are you doing? Yeah, I guess a whole bunch of comments just disappeared. Okay, here we go. Let's pop back up there. Are you a collector? Welcome. Charles, how are you doing, Charles? Do you think eBay's new emphasis on items being listed in the right category is the reason behind not allowing media mail and non-media categories? I think it was a push by the U.S. Postal Service. If you've noticed, they've been allowing eBay to come in there and give them all the information, so you'll get like bills if you like underweighted it or overweighted it, you can get credit. So I think it's more interaction because they can look at every single thing you send out. That's why I keep telling people, if you're sending it out via means you're not allowed, at some point they're going to start catching and onto what you're doing, and they're going to start dinging you. I mean, you already should be getting notices for money charges to your account for the post office through eBay. So just keep that in mind. I mean, that's what my opinion is on it. That they're under pressure because they get a kickback from having the U.S. Postal Service as their main shipment. That they're getting a kickback from that. I'm sure of it. I mean, that's how those deals are made. I handled distribution for a regional warehouse with Einstein Brothers for a while. I handled a region. And we did backhaul shipping and things like this, and you get a kickback on all shipments, even if you're just arranging them. So that's just the way big business works. There's a kickback. You pick a service, they get a discount to the people. We get a discount, and then eBay gets, even if it's a penny or 1%, they get a percentage of it, like a commission. Just like, if you click on some of my links, you could be, giving a commission to me by doing that, or any YouTuber on here. It's not me per se. It's pennies. I mean, it's literally nothing. If you saw it, you'd laugh, but let's see where we're at. Kathy, how are you doing? All's well in San Diego. The wife is here. I think she is coming down. Two hip chicks, welcome, good evening. Corbetco, hello from Chicago as well. I have been to the Windy City. Marky, my better half, is here, of course. I stayed in Chicago once for like 3 whole days downtown, our uncle or cousin or something, when I was like 12. It was the neatest thing I had seen in my life up until that point. We were maybe not 12. I was probably like 8, I should say. It was snowing, and they had these big panoramic windows that overlooked the city, and it was dark, and Christmas lights were blaring. It was just really neat seeing the lights and the ricochet off the snow, from distance. It was just really cool. At least I thought so. I'm enjoying your talk. Great info. Thanks for bringing to us. Well, you are welcome. Doug, welcome as well. Minnesota. We've got a friend. We worked with somebody from Minnesota for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
Real nice guy.
Lisa's from Minnesota as well.
Is she? We know a couple people from Minnesota.
Wow, 2.
A couple. I've been to Minnesota or through Minnesota once. Wendy, good evening. Let me think. Let me just go down here a little. Again, I got a ton of notes, so Dutch listings. Well, thank you as well.
Henry's over there.
Never learned how to like. There's just like the thumbs up and thumbs down. Just like I don't know. Maybe you're on a phone. I don't know how to do it from a phone. Don't watch them.
8 thumbs down. Ooh.
Yeah, they didn't like us talking about what's really going on. I mean, I guess.
Let me get out the beaten stick.
Yeah, they're allowed to do what they want to do.
I know.
And hi, Carl, as well. And the feed's frozen a little bit. Karen, good evening. Jason Blake, welcome. Bowie, and I'm assuming that is a David Bowie, but maybe not. My feed is just all over the place.
As usual.
Adam Thomas, Spinks Q Chalk, I have some. Okay. We'll be too busy with beer and beach in Jamaica. Well, have some fun in
Ooh.
Jamaica. One of these days we might go down there.
No, we
Virgin
won't.
Islands or something maybe.
We won't. We won't ever
Why
do
wouldn't
it.
we do that?
We won't ever do it.
Done a lot of things that we
We'll
said we
think
wouldn't.
about it and we'll talk about it, and that's it.
Yeah, Craig's talking about that too. Those from Australia have been talking about it. I actually, somebody sent me complete forms. I even saw the entire process and how to do it through a share from somebody here on my channel. So I do like talking to folks, and I've talked to quite a few. Duncan in the beginning, of course, was Kathy, and there's a few others that I talked to. But people have shared the whole process, and I've seen the pages. It's iffy, up in the air, so it's going to be started off in stages. They'll take so many in at a time. They only have 3 warehouses being built, so it's going to be a very staggered option. And now Amazon's even going beyond that. They're going to have their own fleet. They're going to have their own everything, drivers, delivery, everything. They've been hiring, and it's going to lead to some issues, I'm sure, because anything new is going to have some issues. They might not vet everybody like they should, and just like the $10 million ring that was stealing stuff that were drivers even from Amazon. So you got to just be watching out for everything, I would say.
This one. That's
Hang on,
hilarious.
Roofwood Thrifter was the winner again from the contest. BCR is not on, but they both got their freebies. So again, thank you for that. I will have another contest here. I wanted to do something a little better. We hit 1 million views late last night sometime. I don't even know exactly when, but it was coming. I'm not a big one to brag, but it felt good to hit 1 million views. So I'm not going to dwell on that, but we're going to have a contest because of that. I'll give something else, something nicer, something a little better than what I sent out for the last one.
A free squirrel.
A free squirrel. We've got plenty of those. Evening, Larry Spicer. Don scares me when he has a legal pet. I just take notes. Again, a lot of people, that's why when I see negatives, when we're just talking about facts, it's like, trolls either, or just people that don't want to know what's really going on. You can't just sell and not worry about the business. It'd be like if you were still selling pagers and didn't see what was going on in the real world. Where would you be if you were selling pagers?
You'd be like me with a rotary dial.
The rotary dial. We have one hooked up, and it actually rings for those of you who... And I might, if anybody's interested, I might do a video on how to get your rotary dial to still ring and work on a modern...
You can't make phone calls out on
Yeah, but
the
they still
rotary
come
dial.
in, so that's fine.
But if your phone rings, you
You can pick it up and stuff like that. So
speak to people.
so it's good for a regular phone. So if you don't have power, a rotary phone will still work, just FYI. Because there's tons of people who, when power's out, you can't use the phone. But a rotary phone works without power. Just FYI for those in case of emergency who have a landline, that's an option for you. You can get a rotary dial phone that works for like $1. And I'm not exaggerating. I've got a couple here we just picked up for $1 a piece. Nice ones that'll go for 20 or 30. So
the one that I like, his name is Big Hoss.
yeah, she's got she named it. It's in our kitchen.
He's in the kitchen, yep.
It's like a 1949.
Scares the crap out of the dogs.
Yeah,
when
because
it
it's
rings.
loud.
It's
It's loud.
so loud. My poor chihuahuas.
If you grew up, if you're older like us, you'd remember the days when that's all there was. There was no modern day phones, and push buttons didn't exist when I was younger, or they were just coming in or something. My house had a rotary dial till I moved out. You know,
my parents had a Princess phone by their bed.
I don't think we even had a Princess phone. We had a wall mount. In fact, we have one of the phones from my house. Anyway, I know we got off a little tangent there.
Yeah, we did.
We'll pop back into some of the stuff going on in a few minutes here. There goes the feed.
Ooh.
Okay, let me see if I can get the feed again. It just disappeared on me. Okay, actually I got it right there. Picking NW, how are you doing as well? Do you think eBay's new? Okay, we did that one.
Ooh, bison burgers. You were talking about burgers?
Yeah, I brought that up at we used to eat at Wilderness Lodge at Disney, and wasn't it Wilderness Lodge? Wasn't that
It was
the name of the
Wilderness
restaurant
Lodge,
though?
Yeah. No,
Whispering Canyon, I think. Isn't that what it was?
Whispering Canyon in the.
There's two in there that
Pinkies,
serve
whatever.
bison, and you can actually get a bison steak at Disney. I worked there 10 years, if for those of you who didn't know. We met there. We married on Disney property.
Yeah, Little Lake Bryan.
Little Lake Bryan.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore. It's now what's it? It used to be called Discovery Island. That was there. What's it called? Animal Kingdom, I think.
Yeah,
there now.
I think it's just Animal
I
Kingdom.
think Animal
now.
Kingdom took over that whole area, if I'm not mistaken. But it used to be a private area. I've got pictures and everything. But
Yep.
let's see here. But bison, we ate it. Last 2 times we went up and traveled, we ate it on the road. There's several places we
Those
know
are
right where to
good
go.
burgers, man.
We drive, we'll do 400-mile routes sometimes.
Just to get
sourcing.
a burger.
But well, we know where all the restaurants are because we do routes, fairly often. And you guys maybe not see it, and since our business doesn't rely on us being here or not, it doesn't affect our eBay store, so you're not going to see any shutdowns or any vacation notices ever on our store. And again, I'm not trying to brag. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, brag.
I know people get on me when I say that,
You're
but that's
gonna get
just
a
the
couple
way it
more
is.
thumbs down. You
Probably. If eBay is going to be like that, would use Pirate Ship. Asked to join their simple export rate for internationals. Yeah, people have told me that, and we've used a third-party app before. We're using a third-party app now, but I just keep hating to add more and more to everything that we do. I have looked into it. I've got a page opened up with it, actually right now. I charge for shipping, for those if you don't know that. So it's not the same for those of you who are including free shipping where, every dime that way counts. I, of course, try to save every buyer as much as I can. We combine every single order.
Yep.
We refund, pretty much everything if they pay too much, even if they don't ask us. If the shipping is off or, whatever the case may be, we refund them. I send them a note, thanks for the purchase, the shipping was an error, and then we'll send them a refund for the difference. So, that's the case on that. Let's see here.
Oh, that's nice. Ooh, touched the screen a little too hard.
Well, thank you, Can Man. I'm assuming you collect cans. And that might be the case. Beer cans or whatever the case. We sell in those kind of categories too. So, if they get rid of media mail, everybody would truly cry. Yeah, I don't misuse it. One thing I can say, they're going to just put it in categories that are like book categories and stuff like that. It doesn't fix the problem because you can still list the wrong item in that category instead.
We're jumping around.
Yeah, I need to get a mount for it. I've had some comments about the bouncing around. I'm going to get a little tripod. In fact, I have it. Just it's not weighted enough to hold it up to alleviate the bounce because we're running off of the top of it's a Brio I'm using for those of you. It has nothing to do with anything else other than a stability issue. So it's not software at all or green screen. Has nothing to do whatsoever with the bouncing. It's literally the camera itself. So
We're just on a trampoline.
yeah, it's these cheap mounts what you put on the back of them to hold them up on the laptop. So this is one of our workhorse laptops that I'm using here, and this is the one I've used, and unfortunately it doesn't fit tight, the new Brio clamp that I have on here. So anyway, I'll fix it. I already have it up there. My son's going to pour a lead weight for the base so it won't move at all. Let's just put it that way. I've got actually a real solid counter here, but it's the laptop facing that's shaking a little bit. They won't get rid of media, though, Shipping Sunshine. They'll just get rid of it in categories. But that, again, stuff sells better. They'd have to add records to political and historical in the comic book section. That would be the only way to do it properly, and that would still kind of hurt it. Because people narrow down their searches when there's like 10, 20,000 items up. They'll narrow them down just to what they're looking for on any category. That's why I say it's so important that you're allowed to ship whichever way you want in any category, because the only way some people search items is to narrow them down to the specifics they're looking for. And I use the example of Superman. You can use any example you want. You could use Corvette. You want a Corvette poster or something, and maybe there's a Corvette record with a nice image on a Corvette, and you'd love to have it, but you have no idea it even exists. If you're looking for Corvette stuff, chances are you're not going to look for a category in records. You're going to narrow it down so you don't see cars because you're not looking for a car. You're looking for a poster or something. You're going to narrow it down to the category. You're going to narrow it down to collectibles instead of automotive. and you're going to cut off things because you're not even going to be looking for media at that point. You're not going to look for records if you go down to the collectibles. So that's why I say for a lot of stuff, the category, ability to list in categories matters incredibly high. It's a big thing. And I know they said just rely on the keywords, but that means nothing if it's a flooded category and you've got to stand out by listing it in a different category. It shouldn't matter if it's a Superman item. They've got a Superman category. They've got a American Motors or a Corvette section in the collectibles, and there's an automotive section. There's an advertising automotive section, but you can't list it there. There's advertising records that would more than anything go in an advertising section, but they're going to deny you the ability to list it in a section that they should be able to go into. That's the point. People are thinking I'm worried about pennies or just listed in the record section. The people are saying that don't understand how the search is, how you narrow down a search. The people do that. That's the majority of people narrow searches down to the category they're specifically looking for, which cuts out your item. So if you can list it in the category the most people are going to be looking in, you'll stand out over above everybody else who's trying to sell that record in the records category. Of course, it can sell in the records category. It's media, though. It's legally allowed to go media mail, what we're talking about. And they could do this to sheet music or anything else. There's political sheet music for Nixon that would go better in the Nixon section in collectibles, historical, political. That's just a perfect example. That would disavow that ability to send paper items from any other category other than the sheet music section. I know, again, a lot of people probably don't sell these kind of items, but you're going to run into stuff at a flea market or a thrift store, and you might be able to make some good money at it, but it's going to hamper your ability to make top dollar sometimes because you can't sell it in the right category that's going to get you the most money. It may not be the right category to eBay, but it's the right category to get you that sale quicker. I promise you, we've done this for 2 decades. I know what I'm talking about. And there'll be a dozen other people on here who know exactly what I'm talking about, who are longtime YouTubers as well. I've talked about the same thing with several other YouTubers that do what I do. That's a legitimate complaint that they didn't tell us and they didn't ask for feedback on it. So, when it clamps down on you, it's not everybody. They're doing it piece by piece. So when your pages change around, that's when they're going to instigate that with you the way it looks too. I think it's a stupid policy in the most part because I can do that on Amazon without an issue. I can sell a record in an entertainment section because it's entertainment tied like a movie. We sell records that way. You can sell video games that way. And if it wasn't, like if it's a photo section, I can sell, or the Kiss section or something, I could sell anything I wanted in that category as long as it was tied to Kiss. But if eBay was around, they'd ding you and wouldn't allow you to send a record through it. And the fact that they were making people cancel the listing, relist it in the correct section, after they've refunded and to make the buyer buy it again. Sometimes people don't buy it again because they didn't want to go through the hassle. They could find it somewhere else and just be done with it, But anyway, let's pop up to the questions again. I left Facebook. They censor average people but take ad money from Russian trolls. Yeah, in fact, that's part of what they got busted for. They got busted for sharing your private information, which legally they weren't allowed. Facebook paid out $5 billion. Love them or like them or hate them or not, I don't know much other tech company like this, a social network, that's paid out $5 billion. And that's just from the one incident. There's more of them that have happened since then. I just don't trust them with... there's most of the websites I don't trust, but I fully
keep in touch with family. Send them my
family.
hand.
That's about it. We don't accept.
I don't take pictures of my food.
Yeah, we don't do any of that. It's more
do that.
conversation. But we don't accept any outside family to our personal page. Just FYI. So if someone got rejected or something like that, we get invites to it quite often. We don't accept them. No offense to anybody.
I'm not on there a lot.
And we share personal stuff about, the health of family members and things like that on there, so we can everybody can talk at once. So just FYI, it's nothing to do with, disliking or not wanting to see anybody. I have a business page on Facebook and our group page on Facebook as well, too. So, there's other ways. Plus, I've got Patreon, too. Let's see, I was referring to the item that Profess had with media mail but was listed in another category. He wasn't able to select media mail as an option. Yeah, they just clicked a button at eBay and turned off that option on me. Maybe it's on everybody, but from what I've seen, no, it's not on everybody. It's happened to people about a month ago or so. It first happened, and they've been staggering it out. That looks like and getting the complaints. The person who I talked on the phone's already dealt with this many times from the way it sounded, and I could give you 30 or 40 other people who have personally contacted me since that video went up that said the exact same thing happened to them, and the responses that eBay gave them were terrible, telling them to cancel the listings. In my book, they should have just refunded the difference. They were worried about a couple dollars for something they changed without telling the seller. They allowed them to list it. They billed them that day for that item, for that type of shipping, but then they wouldn't let the seller ship it out. And this isn't just me. This is dozens and dozens of people. And those are just the ones who responded or knew what I was talking about. So
I'm going to go down just a smidgen.
again, I love eBay. So I know somebody's going to say I'm dogging eBay. We're talking about problems. The only way to fix problems is to talk about them and get some responses and see what we can do about them. Like here on YouTube, if you're not aware, there's a YouTube union that's been formed. And not only has it been formed, they just signed the largest there's a metal workers union in Europe. It's the largest union in all of Europe. And they're backing this union here for the YouTube union. I don't know what it's going to do because we're not in Europe. But they're going to hold some clout here because they've already got, I don't remember what the total was, but I know there's quite a few people that have already signed up. I want to say it's like 15,000 higher-end YouTubers from what they were talking about, but just FYI.
Got a fly in here.
Yeah, Craig, eBay be eBay. That's about right.
Go down a little bit more.
Let's see here. Yeah, misuse on media mail. Yeah, I fully agree with you. That's part of the issue. I talked to a gentleman at eBay for quite some time. Very polite, very nice. He was a concierge at eBay Opened. We talked about eBay Opened even. He brought up, well, you could go there and talk to these people. But I told him my opinions on eBay Opened. I told him, I already knew all the stuff that was going on other than the photo. And I could care less because we mostly do white backgrounds anyway. But the point is that, this guy's up there. He knows what he's doing. He's well respected at eBay. And we talked about a lot of this stuff and stuff. And even some of the responses and things that he mentioned weren't the greatest answers. But again, that wasn't his responses. That's what eBay's responses are in there. eBay's going to do what they're going to do. I'm going to move on from from it. But, it's the wrong decision. They should have at least told us. And again, they're back to causing us more hours of labor that I shouldn't have had to spend. Or at least I could have known and staggered it out and moved listings out of certain categories and put them all in media just to shut them up for at this moment. But the problem with eBay is eBay doesn't know the best results or the best things to do. The sellers on eBay have a better understanding on what it takes to sell some items than they do. They can implement this, they can implement that. The person who I talked to at eBay, I probably shouldn't say what he sells because somebody might recognize who he is by what he sells because it's a really oddball item. But the point of it is some of these people do sell, but how much feedback they get, and they're not big sellers and stuff. So will eBay really listen to them? You're just a number at eBay, I guess you could say, too. Again, I'm not criticizing eBay for that philosophy because that's every company. They're just following along with corporate America. Let's see here. Wait, what's the one? It's been a rough day. Not sure if it was. Okay, I'm sorry. Man, I hope it doesn't trickle to eBay sellers with a mass move of crooks attempting the same thing. That's years ago. Let's put it this way. The reason this whole thing started off years ago, eBay didn't have fees on the shipping aspect of it. And they put the fees on, and people say, they can't do that, they can't do that. The government has classified every dime you get as income. They're paying you for the shipping, and that's just included in the purchase. So if, let's say, you've got a $100 item and it costs $25 to ship, you collect $25 in the $100, you totally collected $125 purchase. When you report your PayPal, it reports that as your full-fledged income, $125. Again, part of it's in expenses, and you account for it in expenses. So you'll expense out $25, and then boom, you're back down to just your $100 sale, and then you've got to take out expenses and all that kind of stuff from there. But That came into play because people realized that they could charge 99 cents for the item and then $200 for shipping. So then that way they'd only be paying the final value fee on 99 cents. The shipping was free at that time. There's no extra charges. So they'd collect the money off the shipping and then they wouldn't pay eBay a dime. I've seen tons and tons of people doing that. That's what led to that. Now, obviously, people are abusing it.
My straw.
Yeah, my pen does the same thing. And people abuse it. And the gentleman from eBay, which he had a legit point, but, this isn't the answer to solve it, was that people were sending, 20 pounds of clothing as media mail. The post office is opening up what they can when they're big boxes like that, and it just doesn't feel right. So, they can open that up, and they can actually levy, more than just fines on you, from what I understand. I've never done something like that. I am guilty in the past of sending out magazines media, which we completely stopped doing a while ago. So I don't do that either. There's nothing I send media that's not legally allowed. And I looked into every single page, and I went through the entire frequently asked questions, and that took like 25 minutes. And I looked at every single one of those from the media page, and I even quoted some of those for those of you who want to verify what it is and isn't. I even found in that video just from a couple days ago the pages that they hand out to the employees, which show what's what. This is why there's a confusion, because the page that an employee uses at the post office to determine what is or isn't media mail doesn't include like half the items that are media. So, I've had people tell me, well, they told me I couldn't send 8mm film, I couldn't send 16mm. A big one on the last video was several people sent messages to me or posted that they were told they couldn't send VHS tapes. That's not true. Just like people said, then you can't send home video recordings. You can send a home recorded VHS tape media. You just can't violate the law by doing that. So if it's a bootleg, you can't send it. But that goes for any class of mail. It has nothing to do with media. You cannot send anything illegal through the mail on any class of mail. So it's a broad range. If it's illegal, you can't do it. So, if you're recording wedding tapes of something is a good example. Or there's a lot of people back in the day when I was younger that would buy bulk videotapes, and they'd record like lessons to teach people, and you could send away for these tapes out of the back of magazines. Art ones were a good one that did this, and things like that, fly fishing and all this other stuff. They did all these learning VHS tapes. They were all home bought ones. That's why I say you're allowed to do that. You just can't send bootlegged material. Every home video is not considered a bootleg material. And just because it was originally blank doesn't mean the post office considers it blank. It has to have content that is legal, and then it can go through media mail. This is from the post office. You can look up their FAQ page and find it out yourself if you're curious. Video games cannot go through there, and again, that video shows it very clearly. I show you the page where they state that. You cannot send a modern video game, even the disc. The discs they're talking about are educational, that would play on a player or a video game system. They're not talking about shoot-'em-up games. That is strictly a no-no and stated as such on the U.S. Post Office's site. So just FYI.
You want me to try
Yeah,
this?
we'll give it a shot and see if it disappears or not. I got a credit last week for 2 ounces over. That's exactly what I'm saying. Hey, Stony Creek Picker and SYVS. That is the exact point. You're coming to a point, in my opinion, where, they're going to start really getting onto this. They're fully integrated with the post office. And that's part of the reason I feel that they're moving towards all the categories away, so you can't list stuff like media stuff in those categories. Because they want to comply with whatever the post office is saying, in my opinion. Maybe they've got some legal action going that we don't know about. Who knows? But the point is the post office is, in my opinion, controlling what eBay's deciding to do on, the shipping aspect of it. I think it's a direct, directive from the post office because, again, they're getting a kickback from the post office. They want their money flow still coming in. Maybe it's only 1%, but you're talking 1% of every buyer shipping off of eBay. So, and that's how Pirate Ship makes their money, the exact same way as eBay makes money off of shipping, and they still offer the discount. So anyway, Stony Creek saying hi. Kenneth White, click on the thumbs up. Yeah, go ahead and click on the thumbs up if you hadn't. Again, we get the haters, so, that's fine.
Haters.
Well, I don't know what else you want to call them.
They don't like my glasses.
I like your glasses.
I was just farting around.
Farting around. Roughwood Thrifter likes the background, and that is our prize winner, too. was the most important thing we need to know about upcoming eBay changes? Viking's mother. Well, let's get into that. The biggest thing is, well, really, forced managed payments, in my opinion, is probably the biggest thing that will affect everybody, which basically means you will have to go to the new system next year no matter what. Which, again, then means that you're going to pay 25 cents extra per item you sell instead of per sale. So, and we sell a lot of multiples, maybe 35% of every sale we have is a multi-item sale, so that means another quarter. And again, I just added in a quarter fee. I showed you how to negate that in another video. No big deal. You just add in a 25-cent handling fee. I'm fairly honest and say, direct with my fee charging. I don't charge, over and above the fees themselves other than that quarter now. And it's worked. Yeah, the dogs don't want to be left alone. That's Jinx, if you haven't seen her. That's the baby of the family.
They're so unloved.
Yeah, they're going to have hair all over. I'll probably be wiping my eyes.
She was scratching up my leg, so I finally picked her up.
Yeah, she wanted attention. But the managed payments are the biggest thing that I could say. You're going to be stuck with them. I'm waiting to the very end until they force me. We have it in one store, and it hasn't been an issue, in all honesty, but that store, I don't sell the same way, and I don't sell the same things, and the bulk rate would be different. So, it's hard to say. The second thing is adding on, let's just go over those real quick. They're going to add on employee access, so you can have, I think, up to 6 employees with their separate sign-ins. If you're advancing like us, and I know there's some folks out here in the feed right now who are doing similar items, and you're cross-listing, you're going through a third-party app, and you're not even using eBay to list, and you can already have multiple sign-ins to begin with, so you don't really need any of that eBay stuff. Again, because we've broadened it. I used to just be eBay everything. That used to be my game. But, as you advance and you see other ways to make money, spreading out those same listings to every site you can is going to, double, triple, quadruple your exposure on each item. So, that should help push them would be, my guess on that. And my personal opinion, too. So, let's see here. Hello from Southern Ontario. Well, welcome. Picking for treasures from Sherman.
And Camman's
New Mexico. I have been through there. I haven't stayed or stopped in New Mexico, but Kenneth White. Thanks. I always have live chat on, so never saw the regular buttons. Okay. Welcome. Flipping goodies. Anyone asking about eBay payments? We use that. It says we can't use... Is that correct? As far as I know, that is correct. Yeah, you can't use it yet, but it's going to be added. I mean, it's their own program, and you can't even use their own program on it. I'm almost positive that's what was brought up. It's going to be on there, I know for sure, and they've added the option for PayPal back in. So, I don't know. We'll have to play it by ear and see what they do. If you're on Amazon, it's basically the same principle as Amazon in my book.
Oh, yeah, I do not have a necklace on tonight. I was messing with my squirrels.
Yeah, she was feeding.
And they have sharp little claws that they grab onto me.
They get right up to you really close here. They're not timid. They're friendly. They're not, violent.
Yeah, I've got one, Petunia. He's the oldest squirrel I have. And he still gets into scraps.
He's gray-haired squirrel, too.
And he has a new wound, so I had to tend to him. So I don't like wearing jewelry that might get snatched off. Yeah, I don't want to get too close to him.
Let's see here. eBay they're building or will have or leased 3 warehouses is what the announcement stated. Somebody showed me a bunch of stuff from eBay open. I didn't go. I have people that I know that went, and they showed me pages and stuff and other things and some private video they shared. So I did see a lot of some of the meetings as well too. But let's see.
Oh,
Steve Elmer, how are you doing?
I'm in the wrong place.
Yeah, Karen, we did hit 1 million. I was happy to hit at least some sort of number. The next big thing is trying to hit 10,000, which, we're fast approaching it. So we've still got hundreds more to go, but at the rate it's going, it won't be more than a month or two. Just would be nice to hit that number, I guess.
And we'll have that on our tombstone. We hit 1 million.
Yeah, that'll be it. Which doesn't mean anything, in all honesty. You don't get anything.
What the hell is that?
You don't get a thing for it. I mean, it's nothing different. Anyway, if you're on a phone, close the chat, hit the thumbs up, and then hit live chat again. Yeah, I was listening to Dom's channel, Primetime Treasure Hunter. again, we do stuff together with him. Him and Chris, Thrift Shop Hustler as well. Both good guys. But I had to mess around because I couldn't figure out. I was trying to chat, and I was on the phone, which I usually don't do anything like that. But I try not to miss, his show or if Chris is live. And he hasn't had time to do a live show. But if somebody's live, I try to at least say hey. But at least the guys that I talk to, or I'm able to say hi to. So anyway.
You want me to?
Thanks, Scott, as well. Yeah, you can scroll down and see what happens. Thank you as well.
Oh, see, I didn't even touch it
Yeah,
that time.
I saw that. I know we're up farther because I saw something about a rotary phone. We're getting close.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, you're right there. That's it right there. Marie, how are you doing tonight? If you're on a phone, close. Okay, somebody else is saying the same thing.
Deja vu.
Somebody else. Oh, there it is. Viking Mothers. Yes, a rotary phone ring would be great. Yeah, we got it to ring, and I haven't went back in and played around, so maybe I could rewire it and get it so where you can call out. I haven't checked that out yet. They changed it. We moved from one location to another, and it was fine. I could dial out at the one location.
You could call out.
So we might not have had full-fledged digital and may have it here, or there's an optical line in there somewhere, but we're on digital, the new lines now, which is all digital, so I still can get a call in on it. So, it would be nice to be able to call out, though.
It would be. I love my rotary phones.
I'll have to mess with that. I haven't. You can take those apart, and moving the wires around does a lot. I mean, there's schematics online, but I played around with them as well, too.
The dogs hate it.
Yeah, the dogs really hate it. You might hear it while we're on show tonight, even. I think maybe we turned it off, but...
Yeah, I have it unplugged.
Yeah, you can ship media manually from the... Oh, no, can you? I don't think you can ship from... No, I don't think you can ship media from online, if I'm not mistaken. Because I know you can't do First Class International. And I know you can't do media from on the post office's site, if I remember right. I know they don't even offer media at the machine at our location. You have to go to the counter for media at ours. And plus, you're not getting the discount. Well, actually, there's no discount on media, so media wouldn't matter, but...
This person right here talking about the phone.
Let's see here. I had to have a landline turned back on. AT&T updated to 5G had killed our cell phone service since. Yeah, I love a cell phone only for like safety and traveling. It's far better than most navigation systems. A phone just blows up. We're still fine. That's Dixie Girl 1999 or Dixie Girl 999. Sorry, David. Just got a nice orange
rotary. Oh.
Is it bright orange? That's probably 70s or late
envious.
60s.
I like the donut phones too.
I went back. In fact, the video, the little clip in the beginning here, if you didn't see it, there's a little sourcing clip for about 4 or 5 minutes in the beginning here that starts off the show. I went to that location looking for a specific phone. That's the only reason I was over there. And I said, well, let's look at some places while we're there. And they switched it around. It had been a long time since I've been there. All the phones were gone. Let's see here.
Right there. I don't know what the dog is doing. Jeez.
Yeah, I think anything like that, BitMEX Trade, I don't think the new phone lines will let you do that. I know what you're talking about, sending the same sound through it, but I don't think that works. The wife has a turquoise-colored desk phone, the vintage rotary. I may have even shown it before. Yeah, she'd love to have a wall mount turquoise, I'm sure, or even the pink ones. If you're looking for phones, the best colors are the 50s pink and the 50s blue turquoise-ish colors. Those are the number 1 and 2 phones. Red's pretty hot too, only because of the red phone line, like from the White House and stuff like that.
My parents had that like the avocado green in the 70s.
Those aren't bad if it's the lighter one, the real light green. There's like there's a real dark. Well, I think that there's an avocado, and I think maybe there's a real like a pea colored green. If it looks like there's 2 tones of green. The light colored ones, like the pastels, are what you want the most. Where are we at?
Yeah, the
Doing
first
something
push
on a radio
buttons.
station. Yeah, I remember those too. Back in the day when we did the radio station. In fact, we won tickets to see the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve in it, and you had to dial all that. It was ridiculous, but we won tickets to see it, and we got in. It was a preview 2 weeks before the regular release. They had one showing in our area, and we got in. It was sponsored by WIOT FM 104.7 here in town, which still exists. And this was back in the 70s. I still remember that because the station was there, and it was just a real riot. Everything was fun. We were young, and it was, there was people were getting loud, and they were giving away stuff. stuff, and there was a man running around in a cape and all kinds of stuff. You know, I was like 8 or 9 when that came out, maybe 10 at the most.
All the cool kids had the push buttons. Our family
We never had them. Never had them.
dials.
Never. In fact, I mentioned that earlier. We never had those as a kid. I never
won tickets to anything.
The only time I won tickets to anything was the Superman premiere. Let's see here. Remember the first push button phones? Buttons were in the circle. Yeah, some of them were too. That's very, very true. I wouldn't live. I would love a landline because we have hardwire in. We've got the biggest data plan you can get for any service in our area because we do a lot of stuff. For us, I have to have a landline. I've got businesses besides eBay, and business contacts and wholesale and all this other stuff that you want to have a permanent landline. It also, if you're trying to get a wholesale deal, you look much more professional if you have a landline as well, like a home office. They want to know you have not a home office, I should say, but a business office. It honestly looks better if you want to get into, wholesale, though, with a specific landline number. So they call it, and it doesn't look like it's a cell phone at all. I know there's cell phones that you can get, or cell phone services you can get that'll do that for you, but I would just rather have the landline. We've got the answer machines, and you can set them up. And
the tape deck, remember?
The old tape deck ones too. Yeah.
Rewind it.
Now it's all digital, everything. Yeah. So we've moved up in the world.
Get the pencil out if it messes up.
Yeah, paper products, Steve Elmore. Yeah, we always, obviously do well in paper products. I'm seriously sitting on like 1 million individual items. Would you not agree? That's pretty darn close to what we have. 1 million pieces of paper items that aren't listed yet. And I've got like nothing into it. And again, this isn't a brag. This is just the way we've sourced for all these years. We're 8+ years or whatever it is now at this point going into full time. All of that time we've been buying this stuff. So I've got 8 years of free inventory. It's not dead stock or anything like that. Or a dead pile, because it all carries a value, and the value is not going to go down unless the whole world goes down, because people collect, and they've been collecting these since they were even first originally released new stuff. So
I know it's not paper products, but what I thought was really nice that we had a long time ago were the tobacco silks.
Oh yeah, we still have a bunch
so
of those.
nice.
In fact, there's a stack of them right there.
I'm talking about when we were in Florida and we got that whole collection of tobacco silks.
We've had tobacco silks in mass quantities on like maybe a half a dozen times. In Florida, we got like a $10,000 collection for like $400 or something.
Yeah, he was going out of business.
Somebody was going out of business. Oh, when we bought out the bookstore and stuff. Yeah, yep. I bought out a bookstore in Mount Dora. It was an old timer. He used to do the flea markets, and he had a real nice bookshop in Mount Dora, and we bought out everything. We went in it with somebody else, and we ended up with like 20,000 hardbound books, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. We had books. We had books, and we sold every single one of those on eBay. This is before, the FBA and all that stuff was around. This is 20 years ago or something, and this is way back in the day, and we made a fortune. The tobacco silks alone made us like 10 grand.
I wanted to keep them, but if I wanted to keep everything I liked, we would
never
never sell anything.
Baseball, there were some really high end ones.
Yeah.
I mean, we sold one for almost $1,000 on its own. I mean, and we the 10 grand is what we sold them for right off of on eBay. We ended up swapping. There was flag sets in there. What else was the other one? A flower set, flag set. These are all early ones, like 1880s, 1890s.
And the cheeky ladies.
Cheeky ladies were the newer, like circa 1910. We ended up swapping a bunch for some other merchandise. I mean, we made like 15 grand probably just off of those silks. That was probably the best assortment we ever got.
But the money helped because we had our son in the NICU.
Newborn at the time.
Yep.
There's been a few times this stuff like that's happened. Not too long ago, I walked up on, for $5, somebody didn't know what he had, and they were tobacco labels, and I'm talking some primo. Remember the Satan one with the?
I'm trying to drink, man.
Well, it was, and there's another one where it's Satan riding, and this is a known label. You can look it up. There's shirts of this too, but it's Satan riding a cigar, and I think maybe there's a crescent moon or something in it, and that one alone, I think we got like 900 for it, and it was in a inner box too, which is the big ones. The outer box are the small, the inner box are the large ones. Those are the ones you want. They usually go for more, but we had labels in that lot for $5 that sold for like $1,500 a piece. I mean, it was an insane score. I mean, it just was one of those things. I wasn't looking for it. I hadn't a clue what I had in my hand when I bought it, but I knew there was no way on earth $5 wasn't this horrendously good offer. I mean,
Will you take $4?
yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't do that, but
I
you
don't
know,
know, $5, a little steep.
it was from an antique dealer. And somebody else asked me, well, asked both of us, it was another live show, and they asked us, do you feel guilty or do you give them money back when you realize you got this huge score? If Walmart sells me something by mistake, or I'm at some other place or I buy something online and the value the next day is worth 10 times as much, I'm not going to, that's what the sale price was. I didn't cheat anybody, I didn't lie, I didn't steal, I didn't do anything wrong. They offered me a set price, $5 you can have them all. I said yes. That's the end of it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it was a legit deal. If I did that mistake and they made 10 grand on me,
Oh, we've done that before.
well, not that kind of money,
that
but
big of a mistake,
you know, that's my loss. It was my loss for not knowing the item. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not criticizing it because we've made those mistakes. We've lost hundreds of dollars on deals way back in the day. It's been 8 years probably since we've had a bad day like that, though. So I can't tell you when I've lost money on something. Just because, again, I'm cheap and we don't pay much, and if
That's
it's too
why
high,
I married you, because you're
well,
cheap.
if it's too high, we just you know, go on by it. We don't pay attention to it. You know, I got my prices, and I know people say, well, hey, you're passing, you can make this much money on it. I said, well, you know, I can do that all day long if I wanted to. I could buy $5 items all day long, you know, any day of the week if I want. If I only want to make $5, but I don't want to just make $5 all the time. We've moved our limit up to $9.99 is my minimum list price these days. I know people say, well, heck, there's time into it and it costs so much to list. To list a piece of paper, to scan a piece of paper is like 3 seconds with a duplex scanner, literally 3 seconds. To list, it's 2 minutes at the very, very most. At any given time, we've got high speed. Everybody's got hook up to it. You know, it's on a laptop. It's no slowness. There's no 5G or any other slowdowns whatsoever. It's fiber optic cables to our house these days for our DSL and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's quick. I have a black dial M for murder phone. Love it.
The blue phone is 666. Remember the?
Yeah, one of the phone, the center dial has the original number, and it's 666 on the dial. It's a vintage insert, so it's a real
Yeah.
it's a real 666 one on there. Somebody told me just because of that it would be worth some money, but you know, I'm not getting into
I've
it.
never plugged it in.
I know the dial M phone you're talking about. She
Yeah.
has part of one here, and
Ooh,
we
part of
we,
it.
we piece stuff together too. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's the right model number.
A newer phone that I really like was from the 1980s, and it was a push phone, but it was the lips.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, they had that, and I
Love
should have bought it
those.
when I saw it. Merrick 7, Lake Buena Vista. Yeah, that is like Lake Buena Vista Drive, if you know Florida, is where it used to be Hotel Boulevard, I think it used to be called. But it used to be Disney Village Marketplace, and that was kind of like, or are you talking about Lake Buena Vista, the LB, or the, no, I'm thinking Point Siena. Yeah, you're talking right up there by the par 3 used to be there. I can't remember the name of that road. We worked there 10 years, and it's been 20 since we've been there.
And
so
everything's changed.
yeah, everything's
since then.
changed. But yeah, Lake Buena Vista was the main area up there.
They don't even have Pleasure Island anymore.
Yeah, Pleasure Island used to be a thing. Again, I don't look to see what's there or not, but we used to go to all
The
those
Neon
and people.
Armadillo.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was one. The
used to go
Adventurers
there.
Club and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They'd have characters come out dressed up and stuff.
The good old days.
Any inside advice on when you travel? In my case, to Jamaica, anything ever worth getting at a gift shop, etc., and bringing back to sell? You know, there are antique stores in Jamaica. That would be my best guess. I couldn't tell you. I've never even thought. You know, I'm not a big flight person anymore these days. Not afraid to fly. I've been on hundreds and hundreds of flights, but you know, it's a hassle, and with kid issues and stuff and medical issues, I don't want to be a certain ways away from a certain doctor. So
There's still places in the United States I'd like to visit.
yeah, I mean, nothing wrong. I mean, would be on our list one of these days to go.
Yeah.
So no complaints
I'd
whatsoever.
like to go to New Zealand.
Check it out. Look before you go. You know the cities. When we go to places, we go to the off the beaten track. We don't want to be going to all the touristy places. We usually go to where the locals go, and that's usually where we eat. I don't care if it looks like a dive. Usually it's the best food in my book in most of the places.
Ooh, yeah.
When we went to the coast, one of the best places for po' boys was a place just out in the middle of nowhere, basically now.
Your panties.
That one far down at the end, remember? It was towards where 603 was.
I can't think of the name.
I don't know if you know Mississippi. There's a little dive bar, like near 603, heading towards the Kiln. If you know the Gulf Coast at all, and they had the best po' boys. You know, the prices were
good.
like double what they used to be, but for $15 you get 2 meals. It's a big
And
huge.
Cuz's Seafood on the
Cuz's
coast.
Seafood wasn't
My
bad.
next door neighbor, growing up, his son owns and operates that, and they have really good alligator.
Yeah,
there.
we all ate there a
Oh,
couple times
that's
over
the
there.
best
So
alligator.
not much in the towns on the coast much anymore, but they do have restaurants and stuff back up. Look them up before you go, Carl, and see what they got, what kind of stores you can look at. I don't know of any. Masks do well. You might look at masks. You
I
get them
love
cheap, but
masks,
then you
yeah.
got to worry about getting them back and limits on the plane, and you'd have to mail them. So you got to add in cost on shipping the items back. We've done that many times. When we went up to Brimfields, we shipped boxes, and I mean boxes of stuff back.
Oh, yeah.
After the first endeavor, when we got searched at the airport with sterling and old coin spoons and stuff, but she's laughing. She remembers that. Because I had them wrapped up in underwear and socks because I wanted them to be safe. And then I had them inside of a metal lunchbox, and I'm sure the x-ray went haywire. It looked like probably a bomb, I guess you could say. It's a big metal box with metal devices inside or metal things inside of it. But,
And they were like people.
It was all clean clothing. It wasn't, we washed everything before we got.
Three people unwrapping.
Yeah, unwrapping all this stuff.
Underwear.
But who would have thought you would have had to unwrap it, at the airport? But, it was... We got a Paul Revere spoon out of there, or one of his disciples, I guess you could say. And
Hey man, that underwear spoon's from the.
we made a lot of money. We got colonial silver. It was colonial silver. We had silver dating back to like the 1730s. We bought in Brimfields for almost nothing. Like, what was it, like $5 a spoon or something?
And that was before cell phones. Thank goodness.
Yeah, we
took
didn't have a
off.
cell phone. There weren't any.
Because we would have been all over the internet.
No, I had
man
one.
with
I had a work cell phone.
silverware
Remember?
in his underwear.
That was the days of I had a pager from work and I had a cell phone from work, and the boss would page me and then I had to go call him back. That's usually the way it worked, because cell phone rates or something. I don't remember the whole story. This is 20 plus years ago.
That was so embarrassing too.
Yeah, it was. Because they sprawl everything out right there in the open, and it was like, well,
I should have just kept walking. I don't know him.
You don't know. I mean, it was just clean clothing.
Hey man, he's acting funny and run
yeah,
away.
right, okay. Okay, let me see where we're at now that you made fun of me.
Right here.
I'm a bit late. What if you are selling a book and you put it into a category specific to that book rather than in books? From the way it sounds, you won't be able to ship it media mail, because eBay is kicking those out of there and only forcing you to put it in the media sections only, which is ridiculous. If you can't send a record, that would mean they're blocking the entire media from listing in other categories. So, like for the collectibles, at least, there's many that have like publications and periodicals and book sections in it. So. And they're going to run into complaints. This is again why the problem with eBay is that the sellers know more about this kind of stuff than eBay. The people making the rules and changing stuff up aren't thinking about the way it sounds selling on eBay. They probably make enough money where they don't sell on eBay, that's probably their only job. So they don't know the market. You can sell stuff better in other categories than the specifics all across the board all the time. I mean, it's annoying that they do that.
Whispering Canyon.
Yeah, there you go. Whispering Canyon.
They had those big.
I remember the
Rice
chocolate
Krispie
cakes too.
No, the
yeah.
Rice Krispie treats. They were like.
Yeah,
big as
they
my
were.
head.
It was like a half of a brick. It was huge. I remember those too. They were like $5, but it was worth every dime.
Love Rice
I
Krispie
remember the
treats.
chocolate. They used to have a volcano chocolate thing with it was just full of fudge on the inside.
And the brisket was really good too.
We did that. They had a buffet there, and you could get like 3 meats and stuff on it. And we did that because I love lamb. And then we ate at there's 2 places we ate at there. We ate at the all you can eat 3 meat. I don't know what it's called.
All you can eat
3 meat. That doesn't sound so good. But the point of it is you got 3 choices and it was really good. It was like $20, really reasonable. This was 20 years ago. I don't know what they have nowadays. But then we went to the other place and you get just steaks there of bison too. Again, I worked at Disney with the wife for 10 years. We have pensions from Disney. Tiki mugs are the bomb, Penny. Yep. Did I miss this? We missed one, I guess, because they're talking about tiki mugs. Oh, yeah, tiki. Okay, they're talking about tiki mugs. Yeah, you got to be careful on the tiki mugs, though, on some of those new ones. I found some the other day, and we were looking them up, and I couldn't believe they weren't worth anything. They're worth like $6-8 to sell them, and they were heavyweight ones, too. I can't remember the restaurant they were from, but they look like the vintage ones, and just with the name of this restaurant, they weren't worth anything. I was just shocked. It was the first time I ran into tiki mugs that I didn't buy, because I buy every one, usually. They're almost always worth something. Burlo. No idea on that one.
no.
Oberlo. Don't
You're
know.
probably not pronouncing it right.
I'm sure I'm butchering it. I'm sorry about that.
Oberlo. Just spell it out.
Viola.
It's easier.
Hello from Georgia. I've spent some time in Georgia as well, too.
Oh, yeah.
Valdosta. I worked in Glen Burn for a couple months even.
And everybody loves driving through
Atlanta. I don't mind. If you hit Atlanta, at the right time of day, you can just ziz through. I hated the
we never were there
the
at the right time of day.
Never were. We've been through there, I don't know, a couple dozen times.
I remember my dad cursing the whole time through there. And my dad's a deacon in the Baptist church. Just every freaking expletive going through Georgia. For
local around here, Detroit traffic's bad, or we go down through Columbus quite often. So we try to hit Columbus at a specific time because it can take you an hour to get through Columbus at rush hour because it's just like standstill traffic. We did that in D.C. for years, and that's part of why we left D.C.
Oh, I hated the D.C. traffic. Ugh.
Are high school and college yearbooks okay to send media mail? Many of them have ads in them from sponsors such as businesses. I would have to say it's a book, and it's incidental. That one would be an iffy one there. I do send them media mail because technically it's a year book. So, it's the key part of it is those are incidental advertisements, in my personal opinion. I've always sent them media mail because, again, it's technically classified as a book. So, again, somebody might say that's not the case, but as far as I can say, yes, because you can send kids' books with advertisements in it for all kinds of stuff in it, and those are legit. So, yeah, somebody else is saying yearbook is media. I would say it would have to be. Another one that was brought up, which people questioned, was graphic novels. Graphic novels without advertising, even though they're technically a comic book form, are more of a novel and are legally classified as a book. And even when you do the ISBNs on them, they're books. They're listed as books. And as far as the U.S. government is concerned, that category standard is a book. So
what about the books on the CDs?
Those would be considered the same thing. CDs would be the media, and you could send them that way anyway. I thought about that as well, too. Same thing with some of the other, like cassette tapes. Let's see here. Shannon. Well, thank you. My first ever reel-to-reel movie at estate sale last week is labeled JFK Assassination.
Oh, wow.
Now, you're probably not talking about a reel-to-reel. If it's a reel-to-reel, it's sound. It's not going to be video. If it has sprockets on it and you can hold it up to the light and see the images, that's going to either be a 16 millimeter or a 8 millimeter film. Now, again, that runs into stuff that would sell better in political section, but if they're blocking you from selling media, you wouldn't be able to sell that item in the JFK section. There is a JFK section. Collectibles, historical, political, presidential, JFK. That's exactly how you'd get to it. And that's exactly where you should list that, but if they're blocking you, you can't list it in the correct category because they're going to tell you it's only a movie. That's terrible. That's why I'm saying this is most of what your people are talking about is directly affected by them changing that. That would sell so much quicker, so much easier in a JFK section. Somebody who wants it would just, especially if it's got the box, they might just buy it for the box. But if they're just going to be looking in the JFK section. So, or they'll do a JFK search from all of eBay and then realize that there's 30,000 items that say JFK, and they'll have to narrow it down to a specific category. Chances are they'll hit collectibles, and then boom, you're out of the game for being able to sell it, unless you've got, they specifically keep the photo section and collectibles open still. So, but yes, it has value for sure. At minimum, say $20 or $30 without a question, in my opinion. I'd have to see it, and I'd have to know whether it's a reel-to-reel or a 8mm film. So,
I'd like to see that.
Welcome to post a picture in the Facebook group. I'll try and check it just because I called it out here. I'll try to check Facebook tomorrow for those who have something pending on Facebook. Hey, Rusty Raccoon, how are you doing? Good evenings. Tamara, I sold a Harley-Davidson book that I listed in the Harley-Davidson catalog and not books. Well, catalog, they still allow you to ship catalogs out media, and technically that's not a media item in some aspects of it. So you got to be careful. It depends on the specifics. I know some can go media and some can't. So it just depends. Just like somebody was talking about, you can ship video games. It'll still allow you to ship video games media. Now, technically, the video game can't go media, but educational games listed in the video game section can. So.
You gotta stop it with that paper.
You gotta stop talking. Hang on, let me.
dog hair.
Yeah, Michelle, some items can have incidental ads, so that's the point on it. They're not specific on certain things like that. Let's pop that a little farther. Hope it doesn't move all over on us. Can you still put media for the shipping policy in those categories, or do you have to make people pay more? Good evening, Annie. It allowed me, they were listed in the media category section for shipping. Obviously, I have business policies. It was listed as a media item. The day it was sold, I was getting ready to mail it. That same day, they billed the people for media, but it would not allow me to send it media. So I would say it's not stopping you from listing them that way. But it won't let you ship them that way, which makes no sense at all in the world. And there is no set policy. There was no announcement from eBay. Again, I've talked to 2 different eBay reps on that, and one was, again, the concierge gentleman, and there is nothing. He asked all around. I would think if someone could find the answer, it would be someone like that. So it was just something they decided to do. Apparently, they didn't even tell, customer support or services that this was going to happen before it happened, from the gist of what I got out of it too, which is just bad. You don't even tell your own company that you're doing something that could affect their business and, their time, because they could get flooded with phone calls and stuff like this. But yes, it allows, and I'm not the only one. Again, I've had dozens of people tell me this, and almost every day at least somebody, 1 or 2 people tells me, new people tell me the same thing, that this happened, that happened, because people do send me stuff, and I do talk to quite a few people these days. Oh. There's Henry for you.
There's my little Henry. Mwah.
Hopefully that helps a little bit, and glad to have you on tonight, Annie.
All right.
Yeah, BitMEX traders. I heard talks about that too. Now that I don't know all the aspects on that, but I think that was through a third party they allowed onto Facebook. If you're talking about the Facebook, Europe was down on them like nothing was happening, or like instantly. And again, they paid out $5 billion. Flip it for real. Good evening. I go to Detroit quite often. Yeah, I'm not a huge Facebook fan. I do it mostly for contacts and information, as we said.
Shipping sunshine.
Yeah, I don't know. I've worked with unions before. I don't know if I'd want to mess with that. I wouldn't mind joining it depending on what it is, but I'm not going to be on the bandwagon until I know that it's not going to get me dinged from YouTube for signing up for anything. Oh, third-party FBA. And we did touch on that in the beginning of the video if you missed that. It's just basically Amazon has some major issues going around. eBay's going in the same exact path. You got Walmart in the same path. The gist on FBA, RA, third party is that it is honestly and sincerely at risk, even by Amazon's own admission. Amazon admitted not too long ago, and this is this year, just a few months ago. Watch the video from a couple days ago and you'll get a good gist on it. I show the actual articles where Amazon management and staff at corporate office talks about a lot of this. They came out and admitted they 100% have a problem with counterfeits, with intellectual property theft, stolen goods being sold on the platform. This is all in a current, well, actually many current federal investigations into Amazon right this very second, including rings. The last ring they just busted just happened a couple weeks ago. It's on mainstream news, and it involved $10 million worth of stolen property in a ring statewide, not just a single state, but several states involved in this. Plus, there was drivers from Amazon. I mean, it was $10 million in stolen goods, and the investigation is still open. They may turn up other names, other stores, other companies tied to this. This is the second one of these. Some of the articles from Amazon with people from Amazon discussed the stacking lawsuits that Amazon is dealing with right this very second. Some of those lawsuits are going to be pending for years. There's so many lawsuits that if they started to pay these out, this could cripple Amazon from advancing to the next level at some point, because these are honestly stacking up, and they're not like frivolous lawsuits. They're not small one vendor lawsuits. These are from big international companies who are suing Amazon for other vendors selling their products illegally, allowing it, from stuff going through FBA that's stolen from their locations by people representing Amazon. They're also have been charged with or have investigations into monopolies in several countries. All of this is hitting their financials. That's the point of this. And Amazon themselves admitted that they're going to take steps, including curtailing some of these activities through third-party vendors. So they've openly stated that they're going to address third-party vendors, which are us, me, my wife, and everybody else selling on Amazon. We're third-party vendors. That's going to affect RA items. So in the past, like, my worry is we've been grandfathered into some stuff.
Yeah.
And, again, you don't just look at today's sales. Anybody who's not thinking about what's going on at the end of this year or going on in the very near future, you're not worrying about your job, your career, if your career is selling online, because you got to know what's going on. This is how we live. I can't afford for something to catch us off guard, and me not working for other options to get more revenue coming in case this does fail. So the point of it is too that Amazon's reached this point where these cases now, you've got monopoly, you got lawsuits, you got stolen goods, counterfeit goods, intellectual property theft. All of this is openly happening on their site. And almost daily there's a new report online from FBI investigations. These are all federal investigations because all these goods are crossing state lines. So this isn't some rinky-dink state investigation or a city investigation. These are all federal. Every one of them that I've seen, because, again, the minute you send something to FBA, it could be out of state, a day later. And they split them up. They all go to different warehouses. A lot of them aren't in your state. It only takes one item to ship out of state for your case to go from a state, a case to a federal case. So that's where it all plays in. Amazon's liable for a lot of these because of the way they do their business. You can look that up. You can look at some of the court cases that respond to this or that go along with this. They've taken a certain step of liability. Even though they're third party, they handle part of the transaction for them. So they're taking a concerted effort to sell those items. So that's their legal jeopardy is they're partially responsible for these activities of third-party vendors. This is what the articles are saying. These are from execs at Amazon and eBay, and it'll be Walmart in the next step that are saying these exact things. This isn't me reading into something. This is literally me reading it word for word, and that's what it's saying in there from people who work at these companies, Amazon and eBay. So you got to take it seriously at this point. It's gotten to a level where they're talking about the fact that it would be more practical to lose some of the third-party sellers on their platforms as opposed to being in court every day of the week for multi-million-dollar lawsuits for intellectual theft. Let's say someone sells $1,000 worth of goods. A company can come back and they don't own the rights to it. They can come back and sue them for intellectual property theft or many other things and claim damages. So maybe it was only $1,000 worth of goods, but you can, get in return millions of dollars in damages potentially from a lawsuit, a court case. So just because it's only a couple items, don't think they can't do it. Some of these things go for each incident could be a $100,000 fine and things like that. So there's so much more into this that you got to be paying attention to it. I'm fully fledged on other platforms. I don't want to lose another platform. I don't want to lose the ability. And as I was talking about, if they come after the folks who've been ungated for a long time, they might ask for new invoices. They might ask for this. They might ask for that. Some items I've just been ungated for so long, I may not be able to produce invoices for every item. And a lot of people are that way. They've just been ungated. So you'll be able to sell less items possibly. That could hurt your revenue. Yeah. Could force you to look around. Again, there's more items to sell, but if you don't know what's happening, you're not looking into it, at the end of the day, you might not have a replacement item for something that they gate you on. That's the point. And Christmas time's the time they're going to be probably gating the most people. I can't say it's going to happen this year, but
that would stink. That's
when most of the items are sold. A majority of goods are sold for Christmas season, fourth quarter. That's why everybody gets ready for it. So, a fourth quarter could be a lot less of a fourth quarter if they do something like that. It's just my opinion on it. But I pay attention to this, and I've followed these things for decades. I've always been kind of into this kind of stuff, and I haven't been caught off guard before, and usually it's pretty accurate, and usually, what I'm thinking is going to happen usually happens to some extent. And again, I'm not trying to, it's just the way, just what happens. And most people would say the same thing. There's other people who, follow this too that I talk to, and they think similar as I do. So it's not just like a me thing, and I'm not trying to make it like it's all me, but but I talk to people, and people also, we talked about these issues, and people think similarly as I do because they've been into this for several decades, and they've seen all the other stuff like this. Poshmark's going to have a day of reckoning. Bonanza, if they get big enough, Ruby Lane, McCrary, they'll have days of reckoning like this. Right now, Poshmark is still like the Wild Wild West to some extent because they're not as there's lax rules compared to the other platforms. I'm not criticizing it, I'm not saying it's not a good platform, but they're going to get so big that they're going to get lawsuits, it's going to pile up, and there'll be other aspects of it that they're not going to be looking into. It could catch them off guard even too. A lot of companies make these mistakes, and they don't take care of security and safety. That's why, Facebook being as big of a company as they did, they messed up big time, and it cost them $5 billion. I know it's a drop in the bucket to Facebook, but who wants to lose $5 billion? It's just a perfect example. If you were a smaller company, something like that would end you. A $5 billion settlement on Poshmark, McCrary, Bonanza, probably even Ruby Lane would sink any one of those sites. Even maybe a $10 million settlement would kill some of those sites because they might not have enough revenue to even cover that in the first place. It would send them down. So, that's the big thing going on right now with RA, FBA, and third party in general, because that's all kind of tied together. That you should be concerned, and that's a fact. Again, I'm not trying to scare anybody because this is platforms we personally use. Where are we?
Right here.
Why are my comments getting kicked back? I'm not. Are you talking about here on the chat? Because I don't think I saw any comments kicked back. I'm not touching anybody's comments. I do have people to moderate. If there's certain words in here, YouTube automatically dings them off, and I couldn't tell you what the words are. There are none that I've added in. Am I missing something here? Hang on just a second. Let's see if we got something going on. I don't see any other things.
I have to go take care of the dogs.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Let me get my iced tea.
We only got a little longer, and show will be done anyway. I'm not sure on that, Can Man. I don't see anybody kicking any ads off or any comments. Again, I don't. Some of these are just automatically dinged. I do preview every single comment left on my page just because people leave stuff that's, sometimes obscene, sometimes just nasty, sometimes insulting to even other people, not just me per se. So I do filter through every posting on every video that I have. Marianne, eBay is slowly its charm trying to be Amazon. Yeah, I know what you mean. They're losing their charm. They should just be eBay, and I know they copy off Prime Days and all this other stuff, and it's just getting to be ridiculous that they haven't found their own way. They're just looking at the money. All these new services, I'll bet you $1 million the new white background app, which is only going to be for the phone, and I don't use a phone, so it's not going to do me any good either from what I see. They're going to charge you for it, would be my guess, or maybe include it into your store fee, and then they'll raise your store fee. Now, again, if you sell on Amazon, it's only $39.99 to list anything you want, as much of it as you want. eBay's totally different. So if they want to be like Amazon, they need to address the prices. That's the first thing they should do, and listen to the sellers more. But anyway. Yeah, we get the dislikes now these days. The more subscribers you get, and again, as I said, YouTube's is looking into stopping people from leaving them before the video has even been watched, which I think is a good thing. Again, people hate. I never would go to someone else's channel just to click a dislike. It's just a waste of my time. I don't care what some other channels do. If I don't like their content, or I think they're a joke, or whatever, I just think they're whatever, I'm not going to go to their channel. I'll just, unsubscribe, and I won't pay any attention to them anymore. I don't get why people got to do stuff like that, but, it's prerogative. David Rubino, eBay also curtails how much you can charge in media mail shipping, so on expensive insured items, you have a small problem. The only difference on that, they do have like a wholesale category, which you can list like big heavyweight items in for media mail. So, and we've used that many times. There is a max weight, so if you hit 70 pounds, you ain't shipping it media mail. You have to split it up. Now that you say that about the insurance, you can still add insurance. It shouldn't kick you off because I send out, well, that's first class international usually, so maybe that's a little different. On like first class international, I can charge whatever I basically want. I don't obviously do that. I charge actual cost, like $14 or somewhere in that range for first class international for a record. And then I also add insurance on it too. And usually they're like $500 to $1,000 records, usually is what we send overseas. Yeah, I don't know. They'll probably never let or get any clout with an eBay union either, just because they've got like 13 sites, and one site. I just don't see that happening, but it would be nice. Robert Koppel, I've noticed the media mail change to a few of my categories, mostly manuals. Yep. Now, too, some of those can go media mail. I looked over it very closely there, and some of that stuff's able to go. eBay's just blindly doing entire categories the way it looks like to me, even if the stuff's legitimately able to go by that means. Alex, I had a customer ask me to ship a vintage ad page media. I declined his offer. It was too low, but I was not sending a page media mail as I ship it first class. Exactly. I do the same thing. A print ad first class is like 9 to 12 ounces, depending on size and, how much cardboard you're using. But that's about what it costs me, or why I send it, like $3.50 or so. $1.50 more than media probably on average. Anybody who asks me to do anything like that, like the other one that's going to be busted down in the next couple of years would be my guess, just because of all the trade war and stuff going on, are those sending any kind of merchandise overseas without the import-export forms on it. That's legally required, and especially if you're doing it through eBay, they can tell. They can tell when you're doing that. Just like that's why you're getting billed for overcharges and getting credit for undercharge, for stuff like that through the post office through eBay. They can tell what you send from that account. And I'm sure eBay's got it fully fledged into the post office. So, you just got to watch out. I wouldn't do that. I have customers constantly telling me they'd give me this much. Can I send it for, just a stamped envelope for $3? I won't do that. I don't care if it's a sale or not. We actually lost our top-rated status in the UK because I constantly refuse people that. And I'm not worried because it hasn't hurt my sales at all. My sales are still going up. Just I'm not going to break the law on stuff just to make an extra $100. We're like borderline. I think if I sell like 2 more items, I'm back up on top rated. You have to sell so much for a certain time length to be top rated in certain countries. And since they've split them off like they did, it used to be certain countries and certain groups stood together. Now they're not like that anymore. So. But I don't qualify for top rated in some areas just because of my return policy in the UK and stuff. So anyway, yeah, don't send something an illegitimate way. You can get busted on that. And it's not just a slap on the wrist, or it might not be, I should say. Marco D. Artolo. Hopefully I pronounced that right and didn't butcher it too bad. Well, welcome from sunny Arizona. I've been there myself. Been to Phoenix. Pat D72. How are you doing, Pat? Pat's got a good channel as well. What's Pirate Ship? It's another third-party app that allows you to ship directly from many platforms altogether. I've looked into it. In fact, I opened up the thing. I haven't, accepted any of the stuff yet, but, I may do it. I don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, the puppy was out here. I know I'm behind, but I do try to answer all of the questions. I don't just do one at a time. Let's see here. Did eBay get rid of handling fees? No. Yeah, everything I have is calculated shipping. So everything I have, I've added handling fees onto it. Very true, Michelle. Yeah, she named it Petunia. They are not eastern gray squirrels. They're not gray. They're like reddish colored. I can't think of the name of them, but they're not eastern grays. Hang on, my feed just disappeared. Let's see here. My UPS man accidentally chased a squirrel in my garage today. Best reselling news of the week. Oh, jeez. John Lennon, Plastic Uno. Try Terapeak flipping goodies or try Pop Psych. There are reel-to-reels on Pop Psych, just FYI. Being a John Lennon one, it's going to be worth at least 30 or 40 bucks would be my guess right off the bat. But you should be able to find it on Pop Psych, most assuredly. And if not, go to Discogs as well, because they do list reel-to-reels on both those sites. And I sell on both those platforms. Or I sell on Discogs as well. But you will be able to find prices on Discogs and on Pop Psych. Yeah, eBay's going to go to, they're going to offer it. Who knows how they're going to do it. You still may be able to have stuff without their custom whiteout program, but they're going like Amazon. We try to always do white backgrounds anyway. Amazon requires that 85% of your image is the item and that the other 15% is white background in every single item on Amazon. That's the rule for Amazon, if you didn't know that. And eBay's just following along with it. You know, no big deal, because most everything we do is a white background anyway. Everything. Nothing else in the image either. So if you're doing a photo for, you know, eBay or Amazon, we do them all the same. I do every photo that we take these days to qualify for Amazon listings. I don't even worry about what eBay says. I go for Amazon. Even the photos on eBay, I go by the Amazon standard for those photos. Just because I cross-list these days for everything. And you can use white background and everything. You know, there's a few items we've done black for jewelry, so I don't know how we would handle that in the future, but a point on it, most of the items do just have a white background. And that's going to be 2020. That's a change for 2020 as well. Just like forced managed payments next year will be required in 2020, and that they're adding the employee access. You can have employees have their own logins so you can know who did what, apparently. I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it, because who knows how they'll do it. They may have a login and have no way to track what an employee listed what. Who knows? Or maybe it'll peg a listing with a certain initial or something so you can easily tell who listed it. We're listing most things from third-party app, and everything's already set up where you can have multiple people listing. So, you know, and then again, I list one listing and then I use that same entered information to list across multiple platforms at the same time. Well, thanks, Carl. Jinx is our baby, I guess you'd say. Yeah, it's a new tool. It's going to be available for Apple first and then Android right after that. Again, I don't do any listings from a phone, so I would never take a photo from a phone personally. We use a Nikon D5300 for most of it. One of them. We've got a couple of them. A squirrel bridge. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, Annie, that's what I thought. You can't do it on their site, and you can't do it at any kiosk either. You have to. It's a counter item only, or through eBay, or you can do it on PayPal. No, I don't think PayPal. Yeah, I think it is a PayPal option too. I almost never ship through PayPal. Yeah, what happens if your item is white? That was my other question too. I didn't see an answer on that, because even the tests that I personally saw, some of the items turned out that if they had white in it, that was gone too. So the item, you couldn't even tell what it was in some cases if it had like white trim on it. I thought that was a very bad decision to force it, at least with some of the items that they sell. Yeah, Michelle's saying you can use black. Yeah, I would never. We get everything scanned, so I would never drop anything off BitMEX at the post office without getting it scanned. And I know you just don't get the discount. That's the point. If it's medium mail, different story. But I don't want to drive to the post office. The whole point of it is I scheduled pickups for them to pick it up. I shouldn't have to go to the post office, you know, to do one or two packages. It's just ridiculous that they've set that up that way. You know, it would have been a different story if they told us, I guess. That's another key. It would have been 100% different if they told us that. Hey, Dom, how are you doing? There's Primetime Treasure Hunter right there. Dom, if you don't know him, I would highly recommend you check out his channel. He is a really nice guy. I don't think a week's gone by since we started chatted the first time, though I haven't talked to him at least once or twice in the week. Just talked to him the other day, so yeah, and we keep touch. So, Dom's a good guy, and I don't say that too often. So, I've gotten, pretty friendly with Dom. He's a real nice guy. He's a family guy, and that's a good plus for me. Marrakech 7, 70s Mickey Mouse rotary phone goes for good money. Yeah, we've had 4 or 5 of those. In fact, we've got one around the corner right now. It's just missing the yellow coiled cord, which standard yellow one, I think I should be able to find one. I know where there's a thrift store, not really a thrift store, but a junk store that has boxes of coiled phone cords, vintage ones. How much space is needed for your 1 million listings? Well, it's not 1 million listings. I have currently like 65,000 active listings right now. Space-wise, the million items are paper items. Let's put that there too. It takes up 300-400 square feet probably for 1 million pieces of paper, I would gather. I've got maybe 300,000 records as well too, and that's in a separate building. That takes up almost 1,200 square feet on its own. So 300,000 records is a lot, and it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of everything. Let's just put it that way. Altogether, we've got 1.5 million items. Inventory value-wise, I get asked a lot. We've probably, as of right this minute, on the store I share with you, I think we got close to $1 million active live on that store in merchandise. So that's the list price. That's not what we get for it. Another store I have at least that much, if not more. So of unique items, we've probably got $2.5 million worth of inventory up online across 9 platforms. That's probably an honest, sincere estimate. I'm not counting unlisted, the 1 million paper items. And I've showed scans or some photos here and there of storage, what it looks like. I've got one shelf with, geez, I don't even want to guess, maybe 100,000 items on one shelf. It's paper. It doesn't take up much space. A shoebox could hold thousands of pieces of paper. Just keep that in mind. So, I've got a storage video coming up real quick here in the next probably 2 or 3 days, and you'll get to see space-wise. I'm going to give you some totals on how much physical paper is in some of the storage bins. I'm going to show you our method to be able to pull. I can pull any one of those 65,000 items out at, in a amount of a minute or so. Any one of those I can access that quickly just because they're all numbered. In some cases I might have to move a bin because we've double rowed some, but, it takes a second. I know where everything's at. Everybody here knows where everything's at. When we're out of town, my guys, because they put the stuff away when they list it, so they know where everything's at. They know the bin structure system. All my shelves have numbers on them, so if I'm not here and they don't know where something's at, I can say, look on shelf C, section 6, or something along that. And they're all numbered, A shelf, B shelf, D, C, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. I think we go up to O, and then each one of those shelves has, say, 3 to 5, or shelving units has 3 to 5 separate shelves, and then each one of those is labeled like shelf. Let's say it's shelving D, row 1, and then there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all the way through. So everything's numbered. So if they can't figure out which one I'm talking about, I just give them a number. It's just cross-reference. It's real easy to once you've got number systems in place, and you'll see many other people with numbered location bins and stuff like that too. So it's not as much space as you would think. Let's just put it that way. Your town area code is 666. Well, the phone is from your area code then, Annie, because that is the area code on the phone. I'm sure it's 666. Oh, my dog is whining and wants attention. Let's see what time it is. I know we're getting late here as it is. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. We've got like 130 people on right this very second. We've got a few more minutes. I'm going to cut it off right about 9 o'clock. World Drive, that's the one. That's where all the hotels are. I used to call it Hotel Drive. They had all the main higher like 10-story. I don't think they're 10-story, but 6, 8-story buildings, whatever they were. Again, I worked at Disney for 10 years. It's been 20 years, though, since I'm there, so everything's different. Haven't been back in a long time. Tracy, great to catch a live show. Well, glad to have you. The chat is available after the live feed ends. You just have to wait for like 3 or 4 hours for it to process the whole live show. Once it's processed, it's available the next day for sure on every one of my videos. I always have chat available on replays on them. Just you can't look at it immediately after the show. It processes. Yeah, so you would see it. Just don't watch it right after the show. That's all. Linda, if I'm going to be in another state for, say, 3 or 4 days, I go on Facebook and check out and join their local for sale sites. I found some good sourcing that way. Yeah, you can do that as well, too. Just like Craigslist, I just go to a local Craigslist site. Before we go somewhere, I do all that stuff before I even leave the house for a trip. So if we're even just going on vacation, like we did go to vacation, we went down to Columbus for a while, and Zoo area and Hockin Hills and all that. And I checked out every single flea market that would be opened. I found out what was available. I even got locations and set up maps before I even left my house, just so I had it all there. I had hard copies in case something happened and I didn't have service in the phone or anything like that. That's all the kind of stuff I do too. Yeah, Hawaiian shirts did sell for us. I did great on vintage silk bowling shirts. We've sold silk bowling shirts for, geez, $400 and $500 before. The highest I think I sold a Hawaiian shirt was like $127 or $137. We did okay on shirts and clothing. I just hated it. Yeah, it was one of Paul Revere's. He studied with Paul Revere. He was in the shop the same time Paul Revere was. So, and it was out of coin silver. It just says coin on a lot of them. Some weren't even marked, but we made a ton of money in Brimfield. So let's just say that. Video games are not media unless it's a strictly educational game made for a video game system. Watch the video from just a couple days ago. I've got the full-fledged page. You can clearly see the post office's page stating the whole explanation on why video games aren't legit. Hey, Treasure Hunt, how are you doing? Angela, good evening. There is no link for the old shipping way once they switch you over. All it is a survey when you click there. There's a half a dozen ways, though, that you can redirect. In fact, there's a service called Redirect, and there's scripts you can add in and all kinds of stuff to get you back to the old page. But the old page is going to be gone. So I'm just moving on and working with what I got now. I'm not even going to worry about trying to always go back because it would be a constant hassle because I'm just switching it up. I'm not going to mess with and play their little games. I complained. I filed a report. When it happens to you, hopefully you go file a report. Maybe they can do something about it. But we are based in Ohio. Ohio-Michigan border, Indiana corner right up there. Hang on just a second. Where did I... Have you had problems with handling charges when setting up shipping calculations? Never. I've had handling on UK ones that go first class international for a little while. I think I had $1 for international first class. If I got to go down and send it registered overseas, I do charge extra for that because I have to drive special. My dogs bother me, sorry, but I have to drive special for that. I've never had a complaint or anything. All the buyer sees is a total for shipping. They don't know, it says, total shipping costs this. That's all they see. They don't see that it's a nickel for this or a dime for here. You've got a quarter fee in there. It just shows a grand total. So they don't know how it's broken down. For all, most people don't even pay attention to what the shipping costs are for most of what we sell. Hey, Mike, how are you doing? There's an old timer on there, Mike. Mike's a really good guy as well. Hope you're doing good, Mike. Hope things are going well and your employee is working out for you still. Jeep Steve, 1974. Well, thank you. Karen, according to 2013 Media Mail eligibility chart you shared on YouTube, your books are considered directories and cannot be shipped via Media Mail. That may very well be the case, but again, some of those have changed, but that is the... I'll have to go back and see which one you're talking about. If you're talking about the one that they give out to the post office, some of those have been declared because one of those lists still lists video games on it as eligible, and they are not. It says video game disc only, but nothing else with it. So there's a few errors in a couple of those things. So you'll have to go back and check the frequently asked questions page. If I get a chance, I'll pull it up and add it into another video here, honestly. In fact, let me write that down, yearbook. Because there's some stipulations at the bottom of some of those pages that I didn't specifically read out in that video. I know if you go to the domestic shipping manual, section 170 is medium mail. So if you want to go and check that out for yourself as well. First time watching live, I still have my tickets from Star Wars premiere in '77 at the Chinese Theater and the lenticular from the badge, from the poster with. I would say yes. I haven't seen a '77 Star Wars ticket in probably 10 years. We bought a scrapbook a long time ago. I ended up selling it as a whole thing, but it's been a long time ago. But I've seen one once about 10 years ago. Lenticulars, I don't remember. May the Force be with you. Lenticulars, what they handed out around here were just one was the Luke holding it, the main advanced poster image, and the other one I think did say May the Force be with you, but I don't think it was lenticular around here. That would probably just be the more expensive theaters at the time, would be my guess. Yeah, we're going to end it in just a few minutes here. Yeah, most people don't complain about yearbooks in all honesty, though, whatever you charge for them. So you can pretty much ship them any way you want. Most people don't honestly complain about them. They want them. I've bought yearbooks from when my father was in them and stuff. So, you know, people buy them for other reasons than reselling. I gave them to my mom. Just 10 Pac-Man, how are you doing tonight? Why waste the energy time to go and leave preemptive dislikes? Yeah, I don't get that, you know. I don't leave thumbs down on most any videos. I don't really care. If I don't like them, I just don't watch them. You know, I just, you know, leave well enough alone. You know, they're not bothering me. Why would I go leave a negative feedback? You know, we get a laugh out of some of the messages and stuff people send because I just delete them. I don't even read them anymore. I used to read them and it used to bother me at first, but I'm like, you know, what's the sense? You know, I'm running my business. You can take my advice or not take my advice. You can not sell in my fields and think this is bad and give it a thumbs down. It doesn't matter. I mean, the point is that I'm doing this for my benefit and I like talking about this. So this is my way to work talk, I guess, because I don't talk much about work with a lot of other people. So however they want to do it. I would never waste even 20 seconds to go to somebody else's site to leave a thumbs down. And the people who originally leave thumbs down on mine subscribe to my channel. They have to because they get a notice. Because right after I post it, that's when the thumbs down goes, before there's even time to watch it. So, you know, it's just ridiculous. That's what they want to do. I'd never waste my time. I guess they got nothing better to do, though, so. I mean, if they're a reseller, you should be more worried about selling your stuff than anything else. If you don't like the content I have, go watch another content and don't worry about what I'm doing. Too many people worry about what others are doing. That goes to when people watch and see other people selling this and all that stuff. Don't worry about what somebody else is selling. You know, amount of packages doesn't mean a thing. Each package may have been only worth $2. So if they have 50 packages, they only be making $20 in profit. You know, it doesn't matter. I can send one item out and floor people, it might be $1,000 records. Quantity means nothing in this industry. Just another thing that doesn't mean anything. Everybody talks about sell-through rate. I don't care at all on sell-through rate. You know, I look at profit margin, my daily profit margin. If I'm making a set figure, I don't care. It doesn't matter sell-through rate. Maybe when you're new, you're starting off, you got to flip it to get the money back to buy something else. Yes, that matters. But, you know, when you've done this for a while, sell-through rate means nothing to me. I don't pay any attention to it whatsoever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Again, I'm on other platforms too, so all my revenue doesn't have to come from one source. Hey, Rick, how are you doing? Rick Duke there. It will be available for replay, and we were just talking about this. If anybody's watching this on replay, the chat section comes back after they've processed the video. It usually takes at least 3 or 4 hours. On a 2-hour video, it might be tomorrow before they reprocess it, and then you'll see the chat back up again active. So you'll be able to see chat as it comes up. I have not disengaged any chat in any videos. Yeah, I'll go back. I wrote the yearbook thing. I want to be clear on that too, because some of the forums they've used, they've clarified them. Like the DVD or the video game issue, I think was reclarified in 2016 is when they did it. So there's like amendments to those sheets. That's why the sheet that they give out to the postal employees to figure out what's postal or what's media is wrong, and they should know that by now. But most people don't pay attention to that. I mean, DVDs aren't even included on that sheet that they hand out. And another section only says videotapes and doesn't list DVDs as well. And then the main page only says DVDs but doesn't say videotapes, which videotapes are included. So it's a big mixed match. You got to see like, well, probably like 5 or 6 different pages to get the entire picture instead of them just putting one page together that mentions all this stuff. It wouldn't take very long to even do that. Good evening, Midwest Picker. How are you doing? Picking for treasures from Sherman. I like your videos and all photos and more such videos planned. Yeah, I've got tons of stuff like that. In fact, I've got a video coming out. I'm going to be talking about, I showed that China ID and some photos, and I've gotten quite a few offers, and I was going to address and taking offers, and we're going to touch on offers in another video too. I just turned down an offer for $833 on that Chinese ID, and again, it's in another video here, and it's on Instagram too. But I've turned down like 2 or 3 offers for an $800 range because I know it's worth more than that. I'm not in a hurry to sell it. I got nothing into it literally. We've already made our money back from that whole purchase. So this is just gravy at this point. And I still have even more CBI items. China, Burma, and India, if you're not familiar with what that is. That's a World War II theater of war. That's the title of the theater of war, but CBI is the initial for it. Josie, good evening. Bob Hayes, I would think with black background for jewelry or white items you could get around Amazon's rule by having a larger white background behind your black. Yeah, I just put white in there. I don't list costume jewelry on Amazon at all, in all honesty. I've never had much luck. I sell more on say, Etsy in costume jewelry. So I don't mess with it on Amazon. As I said, most of my items will be on Amazon, but there's certain things that just aren't practical to mess with on there. Hang on here. We're going to cut it off in just a minute here, but I have one more I was looking at. Yeah, I did. You can ship it in there, but at the time I didn't even think about PayPal because I never ship PayPal. So I printed it first class, and eBay actually refunded me the difference. Hang on here. Hang on here. Let's look at just one more comment here. Bob Haynes, but keep in mind that if eBay ends up blocking media mail options and other categories, you won't be able to do that because you aren't allowed to downgrade shipping. Well, they'd be blocked, so you wouldn't be able to ship it in those categories anyway. I get your point. You can't go down from what they've paid for. That is a point, but you can't pick. Media's not even an option. It's not. You can't click it. There's not a C carrier button. None of that stuff works for this. Just like people have been talking about Region A and Region B disappearing out of their ability to ship as well too. Maybe that's part of the consideration. It doesn't allow you to downgrade. I can tell you for sure that the employees at eBay hadn't a clue on why any of that was happening, and not in my case. And 4 or 5 other people that I personally talked to or chatted to told me. And I've seen screenshots, so it's not them saying it. It's really not there. And it's not there when you hit the see carrier button where you can see all options. It's just not there. The whole option's gone. So, it's not a fantasy. These are real things that have disappeared in many people's ability to ship out. That's what I've seen personally. So anyway, I'm going to have to cut it off here. We run the 2-hour mark, and I always keep saying I'm never going to do a 2-hour one. And then I just get into the questions, and we end up doing a 2-hour one. So anyway, I appreciate everybody being on tonight, and hopefully have a good evening. Hopefully your sales are good. I have another video already for tomorrow. For those in Patreon, I have a Patreon video I just posted 3 or 4 hours ago. Second part to the plush bolo video. You got an hour long of just insider bolos on Patreon ready. Next Patreon video is in the can right now. It still has to be edited, but it will be up before the weekend or, excuse me, Saturday-ish, probably around then. So anyway, everybody have a good night, and glad to have you on tonight.